YouTube world, I am back. I'm sorry that I couldn't get a video out on last Sunday. Just been so incredibly busy with a commission that I had to finish, but it's all gone, all been picked up, and everybody's a happy chappy. So this is video number 4 for absolute beginners to fluid art. I'm really breaking it down, I hope, in a very, very simple way. And today we're going to do a flip cup. But before I do your flip cup, I'm going to do 2. I just want to mention about health and safety. You might think, well, why do you need to know about health and safety? A lot of common sense is needed in fluid art, and I always say to people that come from a workshop, a little health and safety talk first. Have your hair tied up. Ideally don't wear jewellery, watches. Have your sleeves up, long necklaces because you're leaning over. Be aware when using a blowtorch that obviously that comes with risk. So common sense when turning it on and off is very important. Have a look, be aware of what the latest NHS guidelines are for burns. No matter how small, you need to know how to treat burn. Okay, so let's just talk about equipment very quickly, you've done all your preparation. If you've watched the first few videos, you've taped the back of your canvases, you've put your stretchers in, everything's ready to go. These stands I've only just started using. They're really good actually from Amazon. I found with the push pins they were breaking and I got fed up of hammering them in. I have here, I just use old card for a paint catcher so that when you tilt your canvas you can catch the paint without over tilting and losing too much. As a beginner, you really need to do that because I have found in my experience that if I don't use this, if a beginner doesn't use these, they tilt too much paint off and then you overstretch and you get wonky cells. So old bits of cereal packets, these are canvas packets. Okay, so let's just talk about silicone. This is silicone oil, pure silicone oil from Jackson's. I don't use it very often, but I'm going to demonstrate what silicone oil does. My colours. I have my Amsterdam white, opaque. See, it's a good idea to do this actually. I've written on the piddle pad here what transparency they are. This is X4's Phthalo Blue, transparent. This is X4's gold, semi-opaque. There's different degrees of transparency and opacity, and that just means it's probably a little bit heavier than semi-transparent. In my experience, it's difficult to get gold unless you're using the extreme sheen. Gold tends to sink. So when we come to use silicone oil, I'll be adding silicone oil to my gold. This is an opaque paint. This is Prussian blue. I'm just using 2 different blues just to see which one behaves better in a flip cup. This is Phthalo Green by X4, and this is, I think that is Cerulean Blue, Dale and Roney, opaque. So do you see the way I've laid them out? Opaque, transparent, semi-opaque, opaque, transparent, opaque. I've alternated the transparency and the opacity, but I'm starting off with white. They're all different densities, and part of the joy of fluid art, or the stress of fluid art, is you never quite know when you're starting out as a beginner. You will get to know what your colours do, but as you're starting out as a beginner, it's often a surprise as to what you get. And to guarantee, if you're after cells, sometimes I'm not necessarily a cell person, but if you're after cells, then you can guarantee that you'll get cells using silicone, okay? I want to show you a couple of flip cups that don't use silicone. This does not use silicone. This is just purely done on paint densities. It's not one of mine, it's somebody did this in a workshop. And this is another flip cup. Again, completely different to this one, but the same theory was applied. This used a different brand of gold. This used, I think this is a PVA 350 or 352, one of those two golds. I was quite surprised at that actually, but then it's how it reacts with the other colours, the different densities. Obviously, different colours used in this one, you keep going out of focus, produce different, even though the same theory was applied on layer and a cup, they're different. Okay, I hope you understand that. Okay, these are little espresso cups that I use for doing flip cups on 8x8 size inch canvases or 7x7 inch canvases. Now I know that these cups hold 100 ml of liquid. A good reference to know how much paint you need to use for a flip cup or any pour is to go to Olga Sobey's website. She has a paint calculator and I will put that in the description, the link in the description. Now, in my experience as a beginner, I would err on the side of slightly more paint than what she would recommend, only because of overstretching, and we'll get into that in a minute. So I know that I'm using 8x8 canvases and I know that I need roughly 2.7 ounces of paint. Now that works out as more or less, I would fill it more or less to the brim of paint for this size flip cup. Okay, so I think I've mentioned everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this gold here and I'm going to just take half of it out. Probably a little bit more than half there. And I'm going to take my silicone. I never use the squeezy thing there. It releases too much silicone for me. And I dip a skewer in the tip and I let it run off till I'm confident that one drop will go into that paint. One drop. I will then grab a spoon. You can just see this, or you won't be able to see it on camera probably, but the silicone's just sitting on top. I need to stir that really well. In fact, it's quite surprising how much stirring you need to do to incorporate silicone. If you don't stir it, you'll get big globules of oversized cells in your painting. So that is my gold with silicone oil. I'm going to put that to one side. So we're going to tackle the flip cup without silicone first. So I am alternating how I layer my cup up with transparent and opaque paints. And I want to try and have one layer of each colour. And I'm simply going to pour some white in and cover the bottom of the cup. I probably put less white than all the other colours. Quite a lot of green there actually. We'll see how we go. Now, I know I've got plenty of paint there. Okay, and somebody that's never done this before, come to a workshop and they'll be quite nervous about doing this actually. And that kind of nervous excitement never really goes away. So I've simply just very gently turned that over and flipped it. I'm just going to leave it to settle for a few seconds just to allow that white to sink through the other colours. I'm just going to use the excess paint just to do the corners. In fact, there's quite a lot of paint in there. Okay. I'm going to have my paint catcher. I don't tend actually to pop air bubbles at this stage, but I am going to pop that one and that one. Paint catcher, and I am going to commit to going in one direction, okay? I'm not going backwards and forwards, I'm committing to go into the top left-hand corner, into my paint catcher. I'm going to turn it round, back to the centre. Then I'm going to commit again. So in other words, I'm not deciding, I'm going to go this, oh no, I'm going to go the other way. Because you start to confuse your paint. Need to keep it off the other canvas actually. Now this is real time tilting. I am one of those people that just tends to rush, so I'm trying not to rush actually. And it is tricky to know where to hold your canvas, so just be careful that you hold it on the wooden bits. Now, I don't need a paint catcher for the last corner. If I leave too much paint, oh sorry, can you see? If I leave too much paint on my canvas, then it's not going to dry well. It's going to be, it could potentially crack. Right, I'm going to put it down. There's still too much paint on that canvas, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to torch it. Because what happens is bubbles will start to catch and pull, and you don't really want that to happen. So I just lightly waved my torch over the surface, and you saw then the bubbles popping. So now I want to work on getting some of that paint off my canvas. There's still an air bubble there. So at this stage you can really decide what you like and what you don't like. Now at the moment this isn't too reactive. The colours that I've used aren't that reactive, and I knew that would happen because I've tried it before. Colours coming out here, not so keen on the green. Okay, that's about right. Now what I like to do now is I grab a spoon and I just run round the edge, because that will stop the paint that's dripping off the edge pulling more paint from the surface. And if you've got an edge that needs tidying up, just let the paint fall off the spoon and down. Don't be tempted to smudge it, because you get some nasty effects. And you can even pick some paint up from the piddle pad. What's this corner here? Okay. So I'm going to give that another torch. I'm going to leave that to see what happens, and we're going to get on with the one with silicone in it. You need patience, because it's easy to stand here and think, well, that's really, nothing's happening, I don't like it, and jump in and do something else with it, but just let's leave it. And we're going to do the one with silicone now. Now, I'm going to get what we call, this is just black paint, okay? Mixed with my pouring medium. And I'm going to use this as a flow extender. Slightly thinner than my other paints. Now, there is a reason for that. If I was to put this gold with my silicone in first, and that was to hit my canvas, I'm going to get pockets of canvas show through my paint, and nobody wants that. It's not nice. because the silicone is hitting the canvas first before the paint, and it's oil. So your paint's not going to cover your canvas. You're going to get pockets. So you can paint, that often happens on the sides if you don't use a flow extender, but you can also paint the edge of your canvas to help cover that up. But anyway, so what we're going to do is going to move that gold out of the way and put that one there. Okay, and I'm going to put some white in at the bottom. I'm going to use some blue. I'm going to use give it another stir before I put it in there. This is my Prussian blue. Phthalo green. And my cerulean blue. Okay, exactly the same thing. Now I'm just going to use my paint extender around the outside. So that as I tilt, my gold won't hit the canvas first. Commit to one way. Okay. you see there's something strange happening here with my phthalo green? I should have really given that another stir before I started to use it. So I'm going to try and tilt that off. It looks like it's splitting. I think I'm going to get rid of it completely. So now I'm going to torch this to actually activate the silicone. Let's take my gloves off. And what this does, it will bring the silicone to the surface. You can see a big difference already. Now that will continue to develop for a little while. So in the meantime, I can just look after my sides. I'm quite surprised the black's come through actually. Now, I would never keep anything like that, but it's been a good demonstration. You can see how that's beginning to develop, and that will carry on, probably going a little bit crazy. These are 2 flip cups that I did without silicone. You can see this one did go crazy. It was using different colours, only marginally different colours. And this one, using, I think I used a iridescent colour in there, green. But on their own, they weren't really doing anything for me. So what I tend to do is for demonstration purposes and workshops, I then will go on to demonstrate a balloon roll or a balloon kiss. So that's what we're going to do with this one now. Move those out the way. Incidentally, with the silicone, you can use hair oil as long as it's got dimethicone in it. In fact, I had somebody come for a workshop and they used hand cream in a swipe that they did, and that had dimethicone in it, dimethicone. And that is the ingredients that you need in order to get reactions. This is pure silicone oil, nothing else in it. What do I use to do balloon roll? I use a glove and I blow that glove up. Heather Mader has got a fantastic tutorial on how to do this. I will put a link, if she's still got it live, I hope so. Put a link up here on how to do this. Okay, so I know that with this one, there is gold underneath there. There is golden in their hills. And I'm going to bring some of that gold out. I have my blown up glove. I'm holding it quite tightly, okay? The thumb, I push in with my thumb. And I'm simply going to start rolling it over the surface of my painting. Now you have to be careful not to pull paint off, but even then I can get around that. I'm wiping it off each time. Okay, whoops. I have some white here. What I'm going to do, drizzle some white onto my balloon. I'm just going to go where that canvas, there's a little bit there. Just dab. There you go. Whoops. So there you have a flip cup that didn't do much, but actually with a little bit of blue rolls, blue stamps, it's quite a nice little painting. I'll show you that when it's dry. This one, a lot of people love these effects. I'm going to give it one more torch. And I'll be back when they're dry. Okay, I'm back with the dried results. Two completely different paintings for a flip cup. And it's down to personal preference, isn't it? As to what you like and what you don't like. I prefer this. I don't necessarily like this because I don't have the same control over what happens as I do with this. I like to have control. Perhaps that says something about my personality. I like to have control over my paintings. I like to walk away and come back and know it's going to be the same as I left it. So, but if you like that excitement in fluid art, then this technique would be for you. If you're not so sure and you're a control freak like me, this technique would be for you. But in workshops, it's good to demonstrate a couple of different techniques, and then whoever comes, they make their own mind up as to what the painting gives them and how they want to progress. Just a note on silicone, I didn't use hardly any silicone in this at all. So I do have a video on cleaning silicone off a painting. I wouldn't be able to varnish this, especially if I use a lot of silicone, because you would see it, you would see the silicone sitting on top of the painting as grease marks. So if I was to put varnish over that, the varnish would just not take, it spread away from the grease, the oil. So therefore you really need to work hard on getting that grease off. And you do that with corn flour. So the link's here. It takes a bit of time to do. But as I only used a little bit of silicone, just a drop in one of the colours, I can't really see any silicone sitting on the top. So I'd probably just give this a wipe with some artist's alcohol. I'll put the link to what I use in the description. Not necessarily artist alcohol, but it's quite strong stuff. And in a few weeks' time, if I was to use alcohol over this now, after a week, I would take a lot of the colour off. And even in a few weeks, if I was to rub over this with alcohol, it wouldn't damage the painting, but I would probably get a little bit of colour come off. So you just need to be really careful and just wipe over with a lint-free cloth really gently. And that should be sufficient for using a tiny, tiny bit of silicone. Now, you can see how beautifully glossy these have dried. So I do not varnish anything like this. I don't varnish my paintings, and that's probably a little bit controversial. If I used Floetrol, I would have to varnish to bring the colour back up, because Floetrol does dull the colours, very much so. So actually, I would just take these outside and I would give them a light spray of an artist archival quality varnish, Winsor & Newton, etc. And I tend to use a satin varnish. I'm not a big fan on glossy effects. But then again, it's completely down to personal choice. What else can I say about these? Not a lot. So next week I will be doing a swipe. I love swipes, and but a swipe, my style of swipe. If you have any techniques that you would like to see me demonstrate over the coming weeks, please just let me know, drop me a line, and I will do my very best to demonstrate those and answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.